Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today on this episode, we're going to be talking about one of the most important characteristics of a category of baits that is my favorite category of baits, chatterbaits. One of the things that chatterbait does that is super important and the reason why it gets so many bites. And there's certain chatterbaits that just tend to be mainstays, especially in tournament fishing, but also fun fishing too. I mean, we're all catching fish, whether it's in competition or just out there for a good time. So this characteristic is what we call hunting action. So when you hear somebody talk about a hunting action, essentially what that means is that bait specifically has the ability to have an erratic action as you bring it in. So if you cast out a bait like a shallow diving crankbait or a chatterbait or some other baits on the market, as you reel it in, it doesn't just come back to the boat straight with a very consistent action. Every once in a while, it'll kind of lose that very methodical, consistent action and just kind of move in an erratic fashion. Okay, and that may seem, at first glance, undesirable, because why wouldn't you want something to perform different than how it was designed? Well, actually, most companies and most anglers will go to great lengths to create baits that have that hunting action, that have that erratic movement where it just kind of skips a beat and hops to this one side or the other. And the reason for that is that pretty much every predator out there, including bass, especially bass, they are conditioned to target prey species that are acting abnormally. So, for instance, a school of shad, bass, you'll see a bass swim by a school of shad. They're hungry, but if the shad are acting pretty normal, they're not going to be attacking any one bait. There's strength in numbers. But as soon as a bait fish, one of those shad, starts acting irregular, maybe it's starting to flicker, kind of venture away from the school for a split second, those are the individual fish, the individual shad that are going to get picked off first. And so that erratic hunting action that you find in some baits, some special baits, really does trigger those strikes from fish. So that's why people just go to great lengths. Companies will go to great lengths to build baits, that are mass produced that will create that action. And then anglers will fine tune their baits to be able to get that action too. But one of the great things about a chatterbait, especially some of the chatterbaits such as like the jackhammer or the new chatterbait Tungsten Evo or the chatterbait Elite Evo, is the fact that you actually get that hunting action in the majority of these baits. But there's also, any of these chatterbaits will have that hunting action. So what I wanted to do today, sorry about the leaf blower in the background, but what I wanted to do today was actually talk about some of the things that I do or consider to be able to get that hunting action or to accentuate that hunting action in my chatterbaits, okay? The first thing I do want to mention, I kind of alluded to it a little bit, is really it matters what type of chatterbait you're using. Every single individual chatterbait, even if it's a jackhammer, some have a hunting action right out of the pack and some don't. Sometimes I can't even explain it. There's some that just go crazy and then there's some that don't. So just keep that in mind. But there's some things that you can do to ensure that you get that hunting action in general. But just know that if you get one and it doesn't hunt, unfortunately, that's just part of the game. You might need to tweak with that bait just a little bit to get it to have that hunting action, okay? And some of the ones that I really like in the chatterbait lineup, I've already mentioned, like the Evo series, the original chatterbait. A lot of people report that the very, very first chatterbait, the original, has a lot of hunting action. I've found the same thing. And then of course the jackhammer is a huge one. That's probably the main reason why the jackhammer is so popular in tournament fishing. And a lot of, even if pros don't report that they caught their fish on a jackhammer, if it's an unnamed bladed jig, it's probably the jackhammer. So anyways, let's get started. So we've already talked about how each individual chatterbait is going to be a little bit different, even if they look the same. If you put 2 half-ounce jackhammers side by side, one may have the hunting action, one doesn't. Okay, speaking of weight, that's kind of one of the biggest keys to choosing a bait based on your desire to get that hunting action, okay? So one of the things that I've found is that the lighter the chatterbait, the more hunting action you're going to get out of that bait. So the jackhammers, some of the colors come in sizes up to 1.25 ounces, okay? So 3/4 ounce, 1.25 ounces, those are some pretty heavy chatterbaits. Those sizes you're gonna find don't have hardly any hunting action at all, you know, just inherently, okay? Because of the weight. The more weight a chatterbait has, the more it wants to stay on track. It's kind of weighted down and it stays on track. It has that consistent swimming action. Doesn't mean that those aren't gonna catch fish. I catch a ton of fish on those heavier sizes, but you don't get the hunting action. So the size with most of these chatterbaits, like the Evo series or the jackhammer, that really gets the most hunting action is going to be the 3/8 ounce version. Of course, that is also going to, allow you to only fish a certain depth range because it's a little bit shallower running bait. But the 3/8 ounce, if you're fishing like 2 or 3 foot of water and you want a bait that has the maximum amount of hunting action, dude, throw the 3/8 ounce. That is the size that, because of how light it is, it has a more erratic range of motion. It has more range of motion. So 3/8 ounce, half ounce, really it depends on the individual chatterbait, whether right out of the pack it's going to have that real clear hunting action. Half ounce still has it, in spades with some of my baits, and some of my baits, I have to actually impart action with the rod tip or the reel handle to get that erratic action, which is a good thing to mention too, is that even if you have a bait that out of the package doesn't have this action and you try all these other things I'm going to be talking about, you can still attain the hunting action just with a little flick of the rod tip or just a little pause with the reel handle. That sort of thing, works great. And you can watch some of the videos I did. I did a chatterbait retrieve video that outlines some of the retrieves that I like to use. All right, so weight. The lighter the weight, the more likely you're going to have a hunting action because it has less weight to kind of keep it on track. All right, the next factor that is super, super important is the type of trailer that you use. And really, when it comes to the hunting action, just remember drag. Drag, or resistance as the bait comes through the water, is the killer of hunting action. You want a trailer that is more streamlined. So there's times that I like to throw something like a goat with these kicking feet on the back of it on a chatterbait. And there's times that I like to throw something like a diesel minnows, a boot style swim bait tail, okay? I'm not saying that you won't get a hunting action with these 2 different types of trailers, but you're adding more water resistance, more drag, and that's going to decrease the bait's ability to have that erratic action. So if you want more erratic hunting action out of your chatterbait, consider using trailers that have very little resistance, so very little drag, like some of these segmented tail style baits. Z-Man makes a couple, the razor shads. Then you got the chatter spike, and in fact, they make a few because they've got the new chatter shad in there. But you can see these baits are kind of straight tail. They may have like a anatomically correct fin on the back, but in general, they're segmented, so they have a lot of action as the chatterbait moves, but they're not adding any action by themselves because they don't have a paddle tail. They don't have any appendage on the back that's creating drag. So by using these type of trailers, you can enhance that erratic hunting action, okay? Because you're not creating that drag, that resistance that's dampening that action. So if you're trying to get that hunting action, definitely use something like this. Whether or not it's a Z-Man soft plastic trailer or a Lastech trailer or something else, I think you should probably use a Lastech. There's really no reason not to. It's super soft. It's extremely durable. All those things are, make it perfect for a trailer. You can catch 100 fish on them in a day. But regardless of the brand that you use something that has less resistance and is more of like a straight tail type of design. That's gonna allow you to get more hunting action. All right. Another thing that's super important when it comes to trying to get a hunting action is the way that you rig the trailer, okay? We all kind of get conditioned to rig a trailer, straight, which is great. This will still get a good hunting action. But one of the biggest keys with a hunting action for me is I actually like to rig it so the tail is slightly angled down a little bit. A lot of times this kind of allows me to get a little bit more of a hunting action, okay? Up can do the same thing, but I kind of prefer to have my trailer angled down a little bit. I don't know, it doesn't work 100% of the time, but a lot of times, if a chatterbait is already inclined to have a hunting action, it'll actually increase that hunting action by rigging it so the tail is slightly sloping down. So that's one thing to consider. But experiment with the trailer on every single chatterbait, because the way that you rig a trailer on a chatterbait can take a chatterbait that doesn't have any hunting action at all and turn it into a bait that's just all over the place. Another thing, which we're kind of going back to drag on this point, is if I was to take off the skirt on any of my chatterbaits, that is definitely going to reduce the drag that we're talking about and increase the hunting action. So there's a lot of times where if I go up north and I have a bunch of different jackhammers that, when I'm fishing on Champlain or anywhere up north where they got those toothy critters called pike, I've got a bunch of chatterbaits that even though they're tied with that wire, they still cut right through that wire. They're just really, really rough on chatterbaits, really any skirted bait in general. I keep those. I don't throw those away. If they don't have a skirt, I actually keep them because there's sometimes I like to throw a skirtless chatterbait to achieve that real erratic action. So those unskirted chatterbaits, those are legit hunting just freaks. They just go all over the place. So that's another thing to mention. Finally, I want to talk about something that I just started experimenting with recently, and that is the difference between a regular lead head chatterbait, which is pretty much all the other chatterbaits in the market, and the new Tungsten Elite Evo. Now, Tungsten, you can take a similar half-ounce, lead version Evo, compare it to the Tungsten Evo, and one of the main things you're going to notice is that the head is much smaller on the Tungsten Evo because the material, tungsten, is much more dense than lead, so you need much less of it to achieve the same weight. And what that does is, again, that reduces the drag. The smaller the head, the smaller the profile of the bait, the less drag you're going to see. And so that is something that you really want to think about. I have been finding in my limited experimentation with the new Tungsten Evo that even the half-ounce version tends to have a hunting action similar to like a 3/8 ounce lead head version, so because it has less drag because the head's smaller. So if you're really trying to get more hunting action, you might consider using the Tungsten Evo because that seems to be a good compromise. You still have the less resistance, but you have the weight to be able to cast it far and get a little bit deeper. So just something to think about. But anyways, if you're looking to get that hunting action that everybody talks about, yes, some baits have it, some baits don't, but there's a lot of things that you can do to increase that action and catch more fish. Really, it's one of the best things that you can do to a bait, especially a chatterbait. So anyways, guys, if you have any questions at all, or if you guys have found another way to create that hunting action, I want to know about it. I've heard about a lot of different customizations over the years, and I want to keep learning. So drop that in the comment section below. Other than that, I do want to mention we've got the promotion with bassboatelectronics.com ending tomorrow. Okay, so I'm going to be posting this on a Wednesday, the 30th, October 31st, 2024. That promotion's going to end. We've got the promotion, which we've got the link below in the description. If you buy an HDS 10 Pro with the HD 3-in-1 transducer, you put that in your cart, and then you go to the bottom of the page and you put in the Active Target 2 in your cart. You get the Active Target 2 absolutely free as a free gift from BBE. And if you put in Sonar at checkout, you get a free hoodie too. So 2 big free gifts. One's a little bit bigger than the other. But anyways, check that out, link below. Also, if you're looking to support this channel, definitely support St. Jude. I've got a fundraiser link in the link below, or the description below, for that as well. Other than that, that's enough links for today. I'm gonna see you guys out on the water. Make sure you trust the process.